Well, hello, good afternoon. I'm Monica Jaramillo from Colombia originally. I live in Tampa, Florida, and today we're going to talk about grandmothership. This is a topic that is really in my soul and that I love too much, and now you're going to understand why. And it is grandmothership, looking backwards to move forward. So I'm going to share my screen, and today this is one of the sessions that is part of the TREW and reconciliation work for 2022. I'm really happy to be here today. And Truth and Reconciliation is a citizens movement that is really helping to create a better world. It was created in 2020, and it's been already, the third year with different sessions, people from all over the world, and we are all together trying to really create a better world, being healing, inspire leaders, and bring harmony to this world. So let's start. I'm gonna share my screen. And well, all of you that are there behind scenes, and I invite you to grab some coffee or some cup of tea and just relax, and let's go together to this journey. So I invite you to, let's do like small play, or let's pretend that we're playing, because I'm gonna take you back in time. So let's pack our luggage, what we need to do to our past. And as I go through my own healing journey, I invite you, each of you, to go through your own journey as well. Just imagining how this may look like, what memories come, and if you have any piece of paper or journal or a notebook and some pen, take some notes, because it's nice. Memories will start coming. Maybe some sensorial memories, maybe some pictures, maybe some moments, special ones, maybe not so special. So let's start. This is my healing journey into my wholeness. And what I'm gonna do here today is really start weaving my own red thread. And I brought this quote from philosopher Soren Kierkegaard, and I'm not sure if I pronounce it right. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So that's the way I understood my life. That's the way I think most of us just need to connect to that, to our past, to where we come from, to our ancestors. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so let's have some fun. I will take you into my journey, to my past, and each of you also start remembering your past. So let's start weaving together our own threads here. Because at the end, this is a collective weaving for sure. So I am Monica. I am from Colombia, South America. So you can see there in the map, in the very left up corner, there is Colombia right there. In the very northern corner of South America, covered by the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and the Caribbean Sea. Beautiful, amazing country. It's very close to the equator line, so it's always tropical weather. There is no real seasons when you're close to the equator line, so it's always like springtime there. It depends on how high you are, because there are lots of mountains in the Andes. And depending on how high you are, it could be colder or not. And there are seasons that rain more than others, but really there is no like real winter, real summer, real spring. So I was born in a city called Medellin, and this is also called the city of the eternal spring. And there you can see a picture of Medellin there. So in Colombia, this is a country of 40 million, around 40 million inhabitants. And Medellin, after Bogota, which is the capital, this is the second city, biggest, largest city in there. And it's a beautiful city surrounded by mountains, and there is a river that crosses the city. So yeah, Medellin is very close to the coffee region, and Colombia, as all we know, is very well known for the coffee, for the roses. And actually Medellin is the place where the roses come from. That's why it's also called the city of the eternal spring. And one of our festivals is the Flowers Festival that happens in August, which is beautiful and amazing. So it's a tropical country, has beautiful beaches, rainforests, beautiful animals, emeralds, coffee, all kinds of amazing fruits. And also, Colombia is very well known for all the drug dealers and the mafia and Pablo Escobar, a very traditional, conservative, Catholic country. So I grew up in the middle of these amazing things, and also this very scary, very sad things that were going on, that at some point in time, it really broke my heart. It was a shame for me and for my family and for my friends to say we are Colombians. We were not proud of that, because everything that was out there in the news and everything what was happening in our country, we were in a civil war between the guerrilla and the mafia. And at some point we were trapped in the middle of all that. And also in a country that is very Catholic, oppressive with women. So I, as a woman trying to survive in the middle of all this, and being pressured to, you have to get married, but you also, in these times, you also have to work and be successful. But at the same time, you're a woman, so you stay there, and we men better than you, and in the middle of all this. Okay, so yeah, that's where I come from. And many years after, I left my country because my soul needed to fly, needed to see other places. I wasn't feeling good. I was not happy. I was feeling ashamed of who I was, of my country, of my origins, and I needed to see other places. So I left at a very early age. I got to do college, but before college, I went to some exchange programs. I lived in the US, I went to Spain, and I ended up in Brazil, finishing my college. I married a Brazilian, I started working in Brazil, and then I grew in the corporate world. I grew really fast in a career in human resources. And in the middle of that, growing in the career in big, larger organizations, auto industry, the steel industry, very masculine ones, I was feeling very lonely. I was looking to my side, and where are the women here? I was the only one always sitting in a table with a lot of men. And I started looking for women out there, looking for, maybe there is a program, maybe there is a sisterhood, maybe there is a community, where are they? And I happened to find Shakti Leadership, which Nilima Bhatt is the leader and the mentor, and my mentor right now. And I just fall in love with that. I say, I have to be part of this. And this is an amazing program of 9 months in partnership with the University of San Diego. And I got enrolled. And as part of the program, we needed to 9 months of program. And at the end, we had a project that we had to deliver in order to graduate. So I was always like, what is going to be my project? I don't know. And this is a very deep program that really takes you to understand what is deep in your soul and what can come from there. And I thought at the beginning, well, maybe I will do some, since I work in HR, do some programs for women in my company. And I did that, and I was very good. And I was starting to work with diversity and inclusion and mentor women in the community. But then one day I was going to visit some of my sisters. We call each other sisters from the Shakti Fellowship. And I was in a plane going from Tampa, Florida, where I live, going to Austin in Texas to visit Nina. Nina has invited us, one of our sisters, to her house to do a retreat for the weekend. So on my way to Nina's house, I had the most scary, crazy experience in a plane ever. This plane got caught, and we were literally in the middle of a storm. This was a thunderstorm. This was an electrical thunderstorm. The pilot even told us that the ride was going to be bumpy, but at some point he told us, I'm going to try to head back again because there is no way to cross this. And it was really scary, all dark, all this, thunder storming and all this lightning. And suddenly he comes back and says, I'm really sorry, but I couldn't make it back. And the only way is to keep going. And let's all pray that we get safe home. I will do my best. And this was like, I thought it was going to be the last day. I'm always very scared of airplanes, but nothing like this, So at this moment, I closed my eyes. And I'm not sure if I started meditating, praying, but I tried to connect with something superior. And while I was doing that, trying to calm down, I felt this calm. I really felt the calm in the middle of the storm. It was like nothing else happening. And I felt next to me the presence of my two grandmas. I just felt them like they were here next to me. By that time, they had already passed. And it's like they were holding my hands and saying, everything is going to be okay. Just be calm. But from now on, you have to talk to the girls and women and the people of the world about us, the grandmothers. It's like take the feminine wisdom to them. And I was suddenly seeing both of them as their names, as if it was a brand. So one of her names was Rosita and the other one was Pepa. So I was not seeing Pepa and Rosita, I was seeing Rosita and Pepa as if it was a brand. And when all this passed, we were already, opened my eyes and we were already almost landing to Austin and people were clapping and we arrived safe. And this was a crazy experience. So I got to Nina's house. And from there, I started to understand, what do I need to do with this? Rosita and Pepa, connect the people and the women with the grandmothers, what I'm supposed to do. So I started my own journey. I started to learn about myself and my story and my grandmothers and my own healing path, And yes, I started playing with it, playing with art. And this is actually some collage that I did, trying to go around and understand what memories, what connections, what's going on. And I started remembering, and I started to connect to these grandmothers, and I started to understand that these grandmothers were bringing me memories, and these grandmothers were like a window really into my authentic self, to my essence, that for so many years, and this journey I was telling you at the beginning, I have lost it, because it's like I left my home. I was far away to who I am. I was many years far away from them. And I started to really open my heart and connect to my traditions, and remember how I was connected to nature and to my country, and bring back everything that I am. Lots of sensorial memories, and suddenly in those memories, I remember that my grandma Rosita was this amazing woman, that she was an artist and very playful, and she loved music, and her house was like this, I don't know, it felt like a museum or a sanctuary. It was full of flowers and roses. And actually her name, Rosita, means rose, little rose. Actually, her name is Rosa, which means rose, but she wanted everybody to call her Rosita because she wanted to feel special, and she was very special. She was very playful, and everything she touched was like magic. She will plant seeds from everywhere and grow flowers and fruits, and her house will smells like roses. And so for me, the sensorial memory, the connection to her is the rose. Everything she had in her house, she had all these objects that had roses on it, and she had stories for all these objects that came from different places, and that my grandpa, that I didn't meet because he passed, will bring to her. So she had all these stories. So it was really like a magical place. So for me, the rose was the symbol that connected me to her. And then it's Pepa, which since I was born and started growing, everybody called her Pepa. Actually, her name is Josefina. But for me, I only knew that until I was an adult. So for me, she was Pepa. And Pepa was this cute, amazing grandma with the white hair that will bake cookies and cakes, and this house will smell like Colombian coffee and cake all the time. And she will sit in the ground with us, with all her granddaughters, and play coffee parties, right? Drinking coffee and we will sit under the table, and I had lots of cousins that we would play around. And then one of the first memories that came to me in her house, that she will bring us fruits and things to eat and everything. So she brought us one day tangerines, and I was with two cousins and my sister, my younger sister, and we were in her garden eating tangerines. I remember really the smell. And we were planting the seeds of the tangerines in her garden, hoping that one day we will grow all these fruits and tangerines in there. So that's how it all started. Like, okay, my symbols for both of them were very clear: a rose and a tangerine with the seeds. And at some point, one day, talking to a cousin and finding out about my story, one of my cousins came, "Did you realize that her name, or the way we call her, Pepa in the Spanish, means seed?" So it's so curious, like how our unconscious works, the memory I had about her with her name, and how related it is to Pepa is a seed, and the tangerine. So it's all in there. It starts to come back, and it's an amazing exercise to do. So yeah, I started really connecting. My grandma's connected right to my inner child, right to the full side, to my essence, to my roots, to my creative side, because being in touch with what they represent, being really curious, and two amazing women that enjoy life, all these memories that started coming I started connecting to my childhood, which is like, wow, this was amazing. And I started bringing art into my life. So I started to play with art, started painting plates and imagining what memories I had from my grandmas. And I'm starting to discover how much I had this connection and this influence and this access to the feminine through my grandmothers. And I used to study in a all girls school, and I was in touch with nature, with all this fun and the art and the joy. And suddenly here I was in another country trying to figure out how to connect with women, because I was feeling lonely, because I was sitting at a table full of men, and all that was inside of me. All that was in my own story. All that was in my grandmother's. It's just there. It's just rescue that. It's just like get in touch with that, because that's yours. That's nothing is going to take that. And I had to forget it. And so I started touching that again, playing with it, accessing that. And what is curious, and if you all read Nilima's book about Shakti leadership, there is the path of wholeness, which psychologically we all have our wise side. We have our parents and grandparents here, up here. By our right, we have the masculine energy or side of principle. In the left, we have our feminine energy and principle. And in the south, we have the child or our inner child. And it's so curious how this wholeness integration happens, because from the wise, from the grandmothers, I got directly connected to my inner child. And from the inner child, I got directly connected to the masculine energy, because I wanted to do something. As soon as I touch my authentic self and remind me who I really are, what is my essence and what is my purpose in life, it just drives me, there. Like, I need to do something with this. I need to grow. I need to get out there and do something about it. So what did I do? I started calling grandmas. And not only mine, but I started really calling lots of grandmas. And I was inspired by some of our sisters in the Shakti group, one of them, especially Iris, and from Andrea. In one of the sessions, Iris was telling us about her amazing grandmother she had in Israel, and how she wrote a letter in a celebration they were doing. So I started interviewing amazing women about the stories of their own grandmothers, because I wanted to understand, well, it's just me, or what is out there? What is happening to these other stories and memories? And I just couldn't believe how amazing these sessions were. So rich, so full of memories. We end up crying and laughing and remembering symbols. And there were so many sensorial memories, of the smells and colors and flowers and nature. There were sad moments, but it was helping to heal a lot. And remember how these amazing women, how the way they live, how resilient they were, how loving they were, how sometimes they had to take care of an entire family, how they went through wars or had to leave their country, or have to take care of the family by their own, or oh my God, such an amazing stories that I just had to create something about it. So I first created this Instagram account where I started posting all the stories and pictures of different grandmas and everything related to feminine wisdom and memories, and all about healing and consciousness and everything related to this ancestral feminine wisdom and to my grandmother. So it's called Rosita and Pepa. And suddenly, as I was telling you here in this picture, I was integrating all my parts. So from my grandparents, or my grandma, which is the wise side, I went directly to the child, to the fool, who took me back to the masculine, and all integrating it through the feminine with love, so much love involved in all this. So it was really the way that I found reconciliation for me, because if we go back to the beginning of the story, where I was telling you how my heart was broken because of the country that I was living, the reality where I grew up, and I was almost like, I don't want to know about this. I was ashamed of my own story, of my country, of my origins. And this was a way to see it from another perspective and remember the beauty there is in there, the amazing things, the roots brought me all these amazing fruits, and how much beauty there is, and remembering my family and where I come from, and how could I bring all this out there, give back again. So it gave me a purpose, and it healed my heart. And what I started to do with all that is really being a pollinator of all this, serving really as a wisdom keeper, nurturing, bringing the seed of this wisdom to others, inspiring others to really go find your story, find your healing through this, because it's amazing. So this thread take me to start this movement platform called Rosita and Pepa. So you can find it in this website, www.rositapepa.com. And the idea is really to create consciousness around the grandmother archetype, celebrate feminine wisdom. There is an annual event I've been doing already for 2 years called Grandma's March. And the idea with Grandma's March is that there are women and men from all over the world that come to talk about feminine wisdom with their stories or the work they are doing in the world. And the idea is to celebrate that during the month of March, but also bring this grandmother energy, archetype, and the feminine ancestral wisdom between all of us. And also, I was invited to be a co-author in this amazing book, You Impact You. And my chapter is called Spaces in Between Roses, Tangerines, and Miracles. And of course, it's all related to my story, to my grandmothers. Is this a way of me to honor them? But also, with all this, what I'm doing is helping really create a more conscious world and bring peace and harmony to the world. So that's my story. That's my journey. And as I took you that, I want to stop here and ask this question, because in Truth and Reconciliation, what we're doing here is healing, but it's also understanding how we as leaders can bring harmony and peace into the world. So what we and leaders, all of us who are leaders in some way, can learn about peace leadership from our grandmas to create a better world. How can we connect to that? So one of the ways is going through our own stories and our own journeys and connect to those grandmothers, as I did. This has been one of the many, many grandmas I have touched, many, many stories from all over, from Iran, from Pakistan, from India, from Holland, Colombia, from the US. So many beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stories. That what I found collecting all these stories is that there is a universal grandmother out there. There is an energy. There is an archetype. There is symbols that connect all these. And the grandmothers are connected to the elements. Some of them represent the water, some of them represent the fire, some of them represent the earth. To some people, they represent a hug. To some others, it represents a Catholic cross or a way to a religion. To some represent an olive tree, because that is the memory that they have. And I was accessing so much wisdom through this, how much this integration to bring this wisdom from the elders, and how much we can do to pass this from generation to generation to really create a consciousness around. So I was really thinking for this, I was thinking as a leader, what can we do with this? How can we get all this from the grandmothers and also connect to what is needed right now in the world? And so much is needed. This craziness that is taking us around, so much technology, the responsibility that we have to educate the kids that are the future generations, how harmful or how much harm we are doing to the earth, to Mother Earth, to our biggest grandmother, how people are feeling lonely, especially after a pandemic. So it's so needed to connect back again to the senses, to the elements, to humanity, to nature, to nourish, and how much is needed the self-care, how much people are looking for really no more material stuff, but having experiences and explore things and having surprises, and how much wisdom and tradition and inspiration is needed, and the need for belonging, because we are also feeling lonely, everybody, especially after this pandemic and after so much division that is going on in the world, and that looking for what community is and healing, and the need to going back to nature and roots and connect with that joy and that consciousness. And when you see what the grandmothers represent, the archetype of the grandmother, and what the world needs, there comes the leaders of the world that really can do something and connect both things. And that's why grandmothership is like, is the thing, is a way to rescue something that has been lost for many years, many generations. And this grandmother archetype represents our collective unconsciousness, because the collective unconsciousness of humanity is always represented in a way of archetypes. And Jung used to talk. He is the father of the archetypes, of talking about collective wisdom, and how much this universal grandmother archetype connects. And even for Jung, he used to say the great mother archetype is the most powerful of all of them, because it has all inside of it, because it's the archetype that connects humans to their identity, is the one that really unifies, is the one that is able to bring us together, is the one that represents freedom, love, special moments, creativity, is that caring feeling, is the wisdom, is the support, but at the same time is so strong and powerful, is the one that is able to bring us the memories from our childhood and connect us again to that playfulness and the senses and the nature. And it feels protective, and it also reminds us of how cyclical we are, because this economy, the way it is like there is no ending story. And no, we need to take care of nature, and nature is cyclical like all of us, the cycles of life and death, and is the mirror of our soul. So if we leaders start from ourselves, understanding and connecting to this energy, we can really heal humanity. And we can bring that and hear the mother line and awake the human heart and reconnect to Mother Earth and connect through love and bring us to intimacy with life and connect us to our senses and inner wisdom and really remember who we are and bring everybody together. So there is a quote that I found from Stuart Mark Berlin that says, in order to make changes, we must speak and listen on the level of the archetype. for the last 5,000 years, we had had a system called patriarchy running as the operating program in the unconscious mind and in the collective unconscious mind of humanity. So really what we need now is connect to the grandmother archetype, is heal and reconnect to that. What I want to do today is bring you this story to help us reconnect to that energy again. So I'm going to read it. This is a story from Saulo Subirá. He is a Brazilian poet that I found. I even found the translation, but the original is in Portuguese. So I'm going to read it and sit back. You can even close your eyes and see what it comes to you, how you connect to that energy. So it's called Mom, Can I Sleep at Grandma's Today? I heard in the bus this morning when I managed to turn around to see my child. It made me go back to the past with just one sentence. She was not longer within my reach. I traveled far. When did time go by and make us adults full of boring priorities? We fight every day for something we're not even sure we really want. When in fact, Grandma's house is what everyone needs to be happy. Grandma's house is where the hands of the clock take a vacation with us and the minutes unhurriedly go by. Grandma's house is where a simple pasta and a homemade bread seem to have different flavors. Delicious. Grandma's house is where the cupboards hide old clothes and mysterious tools. Grandma's house is where the closet boxes become chests of secret treasures ready to be unveiled. Grandma's house is where toys rarely come ready. They are invented on the spot. Grandma's house is where everything is mysteriously possible. Magic happens and without worries. Grandma's house on the side is the address of our deepest affection, where everything is allowed. That luxury no longer belongs to me. Unfortunately, you will live with me only in memories. Even so, if I could place an order now, any order or all orders in the world, I would order the same thing. Can I sleep at Grandma's today? So really, this is a magical place, and that's the memories I have from my grandmother's house. And it may be that some of you didn't have those memories because not everything are roses or tangerines or beautiful things out there. There are some sad, tragic stories. But even like that, there was somebody, there was this place, there was this neighbor, there was this friend, this person, or this magical place in your imagination or in a book that represented this energy, this place, this magic. And that's what we need to connect here. What we really need to do is to restore that grandmother archetype and restore it in the collective conscience and consciousness of humanity on all sides, in the feminine leaders, in the masculine leaders, in the mothers, in the fathers, in the young generations and in the children, in the grandmothers and wise women, because they are being forgotten, and the elders as well, and restoring the community and the land. So we need, us as humanity, as a society, we need to restore this and bring that again, bring it back, because we lost it. And here, to conclude, this is an invitation for us to start doing this with ourselves. Because for me, grandmothers are the timeless medicine that through stories and from memories and senses, heal and help create a safer and nurturing space and world. So in my story, I connected back to my grandmas. That was my way really to connect to my essence, with my ancestors, with my culture, with my traditions, and understand more about who I am. And really at the beginning, I felt like, what? Doesn't make sense. Go back to the past and try to understand about me. That seems like moving backwards, but believe me, it's not. The minute you find that essence, the minute you find that light, and it could be through your grandmother's story, it could be going back to your ancestors, going back to that space that you created in your mind, going back to that neighbor that represented that energy, going back to that magical place where you feel protected, where you feel care, where you feel that you belong, where you find your identity. Then is when the magic happens. Then is when you reconnect with everything, and we can become better leaders and connect to other people's hearts and bring all that into them, into the world, and all that love. So I just say to people, just let's connect to that. Let's do a small exercise here. Just put your intention, connect to your ancestors or to that magical place if you don't know nothing about your ancestors or you don't have a nice memory. And if you connect to them, this magic happens. And here are some questions that will help you connect to that. So let's say you had grandmas, how you used to call them, or it could be your grandparents as well. Remember a story. Remember a special moment with them. Where were you? What feelings and memories are coming into your mind? Any sensorial, any smells, any fun moments, or now some sad moments, and start journaling about that, because this is healing you from the inside out. How was their house of your grandmother's? Or how was the house of this special person? Or how was the magical house in your imagination if you didn't have that place? Any smells, any pictures, any colors? How was the music? What objects? What do you remember? Is there a symbol? Is there an element that reminds you of them? Can connect them to water or to earth or something else? And why is that? And finally, ask to your grandmas, what is that message that they will give you today? What advice, if they were here sitting in front of you, what advice they will give you? So this is the way I finish my presentation and session today. I hope that with my journey, connecting you through my grandmother's and my own story, I can help you connect to your own story, and that we all heal together, that we all become better leaders, and that we were able to connect to our essence and our hearts so we can bring joy and more love to this world and more peace. So be wise, be true to yourself, and just enjoy life. And again, I'm Monica Jaramillo. You can find more in my website, rositapepa.com. We have our annual event every year in March, Grandma's March, and you can find more in my Facebook page, in the website. Also follow in Instagram at Rosita Pepa and at Rosita Pepa Wisdom. I'm also a coach. I'm also a mentor. So if you want to work with me through that, I'm also an art therapist. So that is a lot of what I do. I take people into this amazing journey together with art. So if you want to come and play with me and go through your journey with art and your grandmothers, just write me, monica@wisexperience.com. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.